Welcome to Muskegon Rising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Your host today is myself, DJ Hilson, and this is Muskegon Rising, a really, I'd say, great way to get to know a lot of different members of our Muskegon community with a lot of different ties. And so today I have the pleasure of interviewing a good friend, Steve Olsen, who's been in this community for many years and has been very supportive of a lot of different things that have happened here in Muskegon County. And so it's an honor and a privilege, sir, to talk to you today.
Thank you, DJ.
Yeah. I always like to start my interviews with having my guests just introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about yourself and, you know, what brought you to Muskegon and what you've got going on here.
Well, thank you, DJ. Sure. What brought me to Muskegon, I was born here. So that's probably a good start.
That's a good start.
But, yeah, I'm in a family business called Northern Machine Tool. But prior to that, I graduated from U of M and then took a job down in the Buckeye State of Ohio and worked for a Fortune 500 company for 5 years. And then my wife and I decided, I was married at the time, decided that, hey, we want to get back to the water, Western Michigan, which were our roots. And I had an opportunity to come back in the family business, which my father started in 1946. So I grabbed that opportunity, even though at the time, prior to that, I never wanted to work in that family business because I saw how much work it took and this and that. But lo and behold, I did come back. It was a good opportunity, and I look back now, and I'm grateful that my wife and I made the move back to Western Michigan and certainly Muskegon area and raised our family here in Muskegon. So that was a real positive for us here in Muskegon.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting in talking to folks like you who started, had their roots start here in Muskegon, left for a period of time, but then got drawn back to it. So obviously, the family business, the lake, what else, was there anything else that sort of drew you back to this area at the time that you came back?
Well, I think, a lot of times it's your families are here, which was one of the reasons to come back, not the only reason, but certainly when you live in Ohio, and certainly nothing wrong with that, and you're out, you got cornfields surrounding you, and you think about back to Muskegon, and you've got that Great Lake, Michigan, and Muskegon Lake, and Mona Lake, and I kind of grew up on the water as a kid, so I certainly took advantage of the opportunity to come back here. And Muskegon is a great community, and I saw so much change from my youth, transitioning to being older, I guess, and what all the positive things that happened in Muskegon, and positive things that happened because of the unique people that we have in Muskegon. Everybody pitching in to try to make our community better.
Talk to me a little bit about this. Obviously you have spent many years and have seen the change. For me, I sort of came at the tail end of the old and now are seeing the new. What have you seen over the, I'll say, decades
right, yeah.
that has really kind of inspired you?
Right. I mentioned this to people. In my youth, I saw Muskegon Lake covered with factories that produce phenomenal jobs for our community, but the factories that also blocked our public usage of Muskegon Lake. So even though we hated to see those wonderful jobs leave our community, we transitioned in a very good way of making our waterfront, I'm going to particularly talk about Muskegon Lake, more available to our citizens of Muskegon and Western Michigan. So that's a positive that I see that we've done collectively and together and with good planning, along that line.
What, if memory serves me correctly, you've been a part of a lot of either discussions or, as it relates to development, in particular along the lakeshore, but also in the downtown area. What has been your experience in those conversations, and what has excited you about what is being discussed about what the future of Muskegon holds?
Yeah, I go back to when I was served on the Community Foundation Board for 9 years, and during those 9 years, I saw this transitioning happening in our downtown area, which was just a desert, with a few buildings that were left standing. And then we slowly started filling in some gaps downtown, which was exciting to see that. And a lot of that happens, and not everybody knows that, is through the Community Foundation, Chamber of Commerce, and the Paul C. Johnson Foundation coming together collectively, an organization called GMED, no, not GMED, DMDC, excuse me, that we own the land, and then we slowly sold it off, of which, I currently chair the DMDC board, and we've got a few lots left to sell downtown. But I think one of the most exciting things that we did was to create the farmers market in 2013 and 14 at the east end of Western Avenue. And we went through quite a process of making that happen. And then we ended up doing a great fundraising for that, about $4.3 million for that market. And then we ended up giving that property for $1 to the city of Muskegon, which if you look back on that now, that's been a dynamic change, not only for downtown, but for our community. When you get over 10,000 people on any Saturday for that farmers market facility, which is exciting. It's more than just a farmers market. They've got the kitchen, a community kitchen there that many people use. And then we have on Saturdays, we have live music down there, coffee, food wagons. So it's quite a, if you haven't been there, and I'm sure you have, it's quite an exciting time to spend the Saturday morning.
I remember when that transition was being discussed from the old location to the new location, and I know there were challenges in convincing some folks that this was the right move to make. Talk to us a little bit about how I'll say the collaborative spirit has overcome challenges in some of the discussions you've had with the development of the downtown area.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the farmers market. That was a challenge from the standpoint of getting all the stakeholders up to speed on what you're doing and why you're doing it, which was meeting with community organizations, neighborhood organizations, meeting with the vendors down there, meeting with the city of Muskegon. Because ultimately it was the city of Muskegon's commissioners that either would say this would be a good thing to do or not a good thing to do. So I think collaboratively we came together, had all that different input from all the different areas, and city of Muskegon commissioners at the time decided and voted that this is a good move for the city of Muskegon. So that was a positive. And other ones is selling land downtown, the DMD selling property downtown, and making sure that those that we sold to had a good development plan. So we didn't just sell land. We wanted to make sure the land that was sold was going to be developed, not just sell it and have somebody hold it. And that's why we're holding on some of the properties that we currently have left.
I think I think people need to appreciate that fact that you just laid out, is that it's certainly easy to own property and to sell it and just say, hey, listen, whatever you do with it, I got what I wanted out of it, and I'm going to walk away from it. Where the attitude here is, not only are we going to sell it, but we need to make sure that whoever is buying it is doing it for the right reasons, and it's meeting either the layout or what we have for future plans. So, I mean, has that been a challenge, or do you find that everybody sort of has that spirit in them?
Well, I think once people understand what you're doing, then the spirit comes along with that. So communication is very, very important on what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think that's true with anything, around our community. Is the more open you are about and transparent you about why you're doing it, what you're doing it for the betterment of our community. And we the DMDC, I'm going to go back to them, and certainly the Community Foundation, we've always had the community in mind in anything that we did and why we did it. Do you make a few mistakes along the way? Yes, you do. Do you hurt some people's feelings, or some people are disappointed? That's the case in anything you do in life. But ultimately, you have to evaluate it, make sure that this is the best for what our community is looking for.
What I've experienced in the law enforcement community is that collaborative spirit, where everybody can sit around the table, and if there's a common goal, we can all work towards that common goal. And like you said, there's going to be disagreements, but we all seem to work together. Have you found over the years, in particular the business community and the folks that you kind of are in circles with, are they sharing that same spirit? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, I think so. For the most part, there again in business, we have different agencies that we have to deal with that frustrate us to certain levels. But we find a way to get through it. And I'm in a couple of business groups where we sit around a table every 6 weeks and share ideas and thoughts and frustrations and this and that. But and that gives a good venue for venting some of your frustrations or some of the successes that you had. And you find different ways to find success in working with, I'm going to say, government and moving forward with our businesses. And it's not always easy. It's not always pleasant. But, as a business, we want to continue to thrive and provide jobs for our employees so our community can grow from that.
How important is it to you, and I'm going to speak to your company, that your company is involved, whether it be yourself or your employees, in the community itself? Yeah,
we try to do that. I mean, from a benevolent standpoint, I was taught this by my father and my parents at a young age that, it's very important to give back to your community or church or organization that you're involved in. So that was always instilled in my brother, who was a partner in the business, and myself. And we try to carry that through with our employees also, whether it's through United Way, Drive, or any other organization that has some merit in our community. So it's just part of who we want to be. It's not for any, neon lights and this and that. It's just part of giving back in different ways that you can give back to our community, whether it's time, talents, or treasures, any one of those. It doesn't always have to be a check. It could be committing to that. I know we did a couple of working with United Way on those work days that they had in the community, and our employees really enjoyed doing that.
Again, what I have been able to experience, I'll say as a transplant, but now I've been here for quite a few years, and have seen and experienced with my eyes and everything else, is that you are one of many in this community, and I'll just say the business community, who feel the need to give back. As you have maybe traveled throughout the state or throughout the country, do you find that to be unique to Muskegon? Or is that something that is more widespread?
Well, that would be a tough one to say. I think the uniqueness of Muskegon is we have many donors that give something, if we talk about monetarily. We aren't looking to one person to lead, give 90% of this. We try to get multiple people to donate for the cause. And I think there might be some uniqueness in Muskegon like that, because we were never blessed with that very high wealth individual that communities tend to lean on a little bit, and communities find success with that person. So I think when we look back and what built Muskegon and what we're doing, it's many hands coming together to do what we do to make Muskegon a better community to live in.
And I can't agree with you more. It is something that I always like to brag about. When I'm in other parts of the state, because I feel that it's a unique thing that you have individuals, and again, it doesn't matter where you sit on the wealth spectrum, but everybody really wants to see Muskegon thrive, and that is something that is special to be a part of.
Absolutely.
How are things in the business world for you? How are things going as it relates to your company and any development or expansion that you see in the future?
Yeah. Well, most people look at me and ask me, why aren't you retired? If you enjoy what you're doing,
absolutely,
then you keep doing what you're doing. And I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy our business. I know it well. We have some very good people that work in our business. We have some great customers that appreciate what we do, which is a big thing. And we have customers that pay their bills, which is a real positive thing. So we can pay our bills to the community. But business is actually pretty good right now. And I struggle with where we're headed, because it's a little bit unknown, with the automotive industry, which we are heavily automotive. We build automotive tooling. which is soft right now. Is it the electric vehicle? Is it the internal combustion engine vehicle? Is it both? Is it hybrid? So I think those auto companies are wondering, what direction is the public going to want to buy a vehicle in? Is it everybody's going to run to that electric, or everybody's going to run to that internal combustion? So I think that's a little bit of an unknown. We do quite a bit of aerospace work and furniture work, which isn't too bad right now. So I'm pleased. Overall, I would say manufacturing is fair. I wouldn't call it outstandingly strong, but I see an upside to it in 2025. Interest rates determine a lot of how economy is going to go too.
Now, when you decided to come back to the family business, did you ever think that you were going to stick it out this long? Did you have an exit plan, or all of a sudden, as time went on, you're like, you know what? I really do enjoy what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I think once I came back and dug my feet in 1977 and learned along the way, which I had to learn a lot about this business. You just don't learn this business out of a book. And I don't think there was any time that I said, I made a big mistake in coming back to Muskegon and coming back in this family business. I don't think I did that at all. I got an extremely supportive wife, that, tells me, keep working. I don't need you home. So I wonder how long she's going to be saying that. But that works well for us. So I never really had a negative feeling. There's frustration. You work for automotive, there's frustrations along the way. That's just a given. And automotive is tough, very, very challenging to do work for. But you learn a lot by doing them. The other thing in automotive that we've learned a lot is China's been a competitor. And I tell people that we put China in the tooling industry, the mold industry, and the tool and die industry. We put China on a 25-year apprenticeship program. And unfortunately, we've taught them well, and so they're very tough competition for us. But they haven't beat us, but they actually made us better. We had to reinvent ourselves a little bit to become more competitive with that Chinese culture and that Chinese work that they put out.
As you look down the road here, 5-10 years, what are you hoping to see from the Muskegon community? In other words, as far as development is concerned, or as far as development is concerned, what are you hoping to see?
Well, we know we're very short of housing units in Muskegon, so we want to see that continue so we can meet the demand for housing. I've been involved with the waterfront development, been on many of those committee meetings. I'm real excited about the development progress that I see for our waterfront. So I think that's a positive. I'm heavily involved at the Sappi site. That's been a long battle. I guess the word battle would probably be really good because we're lockstep with Eagle all the way on that, and they continually want to make sure that this site is a buildable site, and not everybody in the community knows this, but we have what's called an AOC from the state of Michigan, Administrative Order of Consent, and that order of consent states that there will be residential housing on this site. So we're excited about that. We think that'll be a very positive for Muskegon, and some of the other ones, the docks that looking at going in on Muskegon and then Adeline Point, that development. So it's exciting to see that. There's certainly more than the waterfront in Muskegon, but that seems to be drawing a lot of attention. Pierre Marquette, with their activities down there, has been a real boom. If you like what that's going on down there, and that's exciting for our community to see that. Not everybody likes the traffic that's associated with it, but for every positive, sometimes there's a little bit of a negative.
Yeah, I tell you what, I am super excited to see as things really progress, and as I indicated, having come at the tail end of I'll say the old Muskegon and really seeing the growth, for me, it just makes me want to be more part of this community than I already am, and so it's guys like you and your fellow compatriots that have really
thank you
made a big difference in what we're seeing today. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that. So what do you do for fun, Steve? I mean, let's talk. We talked some serious stuff here. What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I mean, we like to boat. We do a lot of boating, my wife and I, which is enjoyable. I've got some, I guess some physical limitations that have taken my golf game away from me, and some of the other things I like doing in skiing, like doing a lot of that. But I've dealt with these back issues for almost 10 years now, so that's a little bit restrictive. We like visiting our daughter down in Georgia and grandson, and we like going to Florida for a few weeks, a couple weeks during the year at several different times. So that's, I guess if you call that fun, that's fun for us to do. But
yeah. Well, it's always, I've always been taught, you work hard, but then you have to take a little time for yourself, right? I mean, that seems to be extremely important.
Well, people, I'm kind of an anomaly because that work is almost like play to me. So, I mean, some people have a hard time understanding that, but, you do what you enjoy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you so much. Like I said before, your involvement in the community at all different levels. I mean, I have had the chance to see you at a lot of different things and a lot of different events, and I just appreciate how supportive you are to keep this community going and thriving, and in particular, the organizations that sort of help support that. So I hope that you don't get tired of that because that is really important. And I guess maybe my final question is, why is it important for folks who might be listening to this to support not only certainly development, that's always that's big, but there's this foundation of nonprofit organizations that are sort of the glue, if you will, that helps keep this community together. Why is it important for people to support that?
Well, I think organizations are driven by nonprofits. And I talk to people in other settings, and I think, what the easiest answer in life is, and we learned as a youngster, the answer is no, or I don't want to. I mean, that's what we learned. So people sometimes carry that forward with them. And I always encourage people, get outside of your comfort zone, and you'll find out how much there is out there that you're missing out on by getting out of that comfort zone, just doing the same thing day in and day out. Volunteer for an organization. Everybody in an organization has a lot of volunteers. Be like them and participate in that. Whatever you choose, as you said, DJ, there's so many different nonprofits, organizations in our community that you can be a part of if you choose to do that. You can't just, you shouldn't, because everybody has some talents. Everybody has some talent and strength. They're just to do this and do that. Find an organization, engage with it, and you'll find out how much you will gain more from that organization than they'll gain from you. That's the way I always look at it.
That's a perfect way. That is perfect because again, you can do your 8 to 5, and you can do the grind, if you will, and certainly be satisfied. But I agree with you that there is a lot to be said that if you include a little bit of community service in that, so to speak, you will find that I find that I get more skin in the game that way.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think to summarize that, you'll balance your life by doing that.
Yeah, it's good to give back, and this is a perfect way of giving back. And so again, I appreciate how much time that you volunteer for something other than the business that you run. I mean, that's really critical.
It's relaxing sometimes to volunteer, right?
It's a vacation,
right? And you learn, and you sit around these other organizations with people. You learn a lot from these people versus just staying in your own little silo in life.
Yeah, sitting around the table with people that you wouldn't normally get a chance to meet does produce a lot question. Fruit. There's no
like question. Sitting around the table at Rotary at noon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
Good.
Well, Steve, thank you for taking some time out today to join us for Muskegon Rising. And again, thank you for everything you do for this community. Really
thank you, DJ.
Yes.
Appreciate what you do, too.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this segment of Muskegon Rising. Continue to watch for us, and certainly like to thank the Muskegon Rotary for helping put this together. And as always, this does not happen without the ingenuity and inventiveness of one Mike Vogus.